Alright, so once again, this is the contemporary world subject and we'll be talking about global media cultures. Okay, so what comes to your mind kapag sinabi nating media plus culture? Okay, so I had provided two definitions here in your screen so you can see there. Kapag sinabi nating media, okay, media basically, as you can read in your screen, refers to the communication channels through which we disseminate news, music, movies, education, promotional messages, and other data. So ang keywords natin dito ay communication channels. And kapag kasi sinabi nating channels, it doesn't mean na yung matatagpuan or makikita nyo sa television or television shows for that matter. When we say channels, it may mean the ways and means, okay, mga pamamaraan na kung saan we spread or we diffuse stuff like news, balita, music, movies, at iba pang mga data. Okay, so that is what we term as media. Okay, ang culture naman, based dun sa past discussions natin, okay, so these are all the ways of life. Okay, and as discussed, arts, belief, and others that are passed down from generation to generation. Okay, so kapag pinag-combine natin yung media plus culture tapos nagkaroon tayo ng massive spreading or diffusion, we would come up with this so-called global media culture. Okay, so para magkaroon tayo ng spreading ng tinatawag nating media culture, para maging culture siya, kasi when we say culture, it is already commodified or objectified or used or enjoyed by all. Okay? Now, ang globalization, as we've learned in our past discussion, nagre-rely siya sa media. Okay? So, kapag kasi naman nating media, tatlo yan, tatlong bagay. Okay? Firstly, you have the traditional, you have the so-called print media, and then meron tayong broadcast media, so radio and television, and then ngayon, okay, so you have the so-called digital media, so the internet and social media. So all of these forms of media, from books to newspapers all the way to social media such as Facebook, ito yung nagiging conduit. Pag sinabi natin conduit, these are the vehicles or these are the pamamaraan with which the globalization is spread. Say, for example, the so-called global culture and ideas. Okay? So, in short then, we have this so-called media that is acting or that are acting as the ways with which we can disseminate this so-called global culture and ideas such as news, television shows, films, and other kinds of data. So that is what we term as global media culture. Okay, so like I said, we have three forms of media. Okay, so you have print media. So ito yung sinasabi natin na books and newspapers. So anything that is printed. Okay, so print media ang tawag doon. Okay, and then secondly, you have this so-called broadcast media. So broadcast media referring to television and then the radio. Of course, ang nauna dito ay ang radyo, and then followed later on by the visual interpretation of data. So that is what we term as television. And then due to advances in communication, nagkaroon tayo ngayon ng introduction of this so-called digital media. Okay, so starting from the late 1990s with the introduction of that so-called World Wide Web or the Internet. Okay, tapos 2004 onwards, okay, nagkaroon na tayo ngayon ng social media, of course, with the invention of Facebook. Okay, according kay Marshall McLuhan, ang sabi niya is the medium is the message. Okay, so gusto ko lang i-qualify ito kapag sinabi nating medium, okay, so these are the media. Okay, so from newspapers to radio and television. So itong mga media na ito, parang sila ang message itself and not the message itself. I mean, television or the radio act like the message themselves. So yung nagsisilbi ngayon na parang reflection ng nangyayari ngayon with the advent of modern technology and all, na kung saan mas nabibigyan ng pansin yung prominence ng internet, ng social media, ng television o ng radio man. In relation to that one, so sinasabi dito, ang television is not a simple bearer of messages. Okay, so kung makikita natin o kung mapapansin natin nowadays, parang hindi na prominent ngayon ang television. So parang hindi na siya star ng living room or ng sala ng isang modern Filipino family. Kasi okay, gone were the days na kung saan ang entertainment ng family ay nakatuon or nakasentro sa television, right? Pero those were the days. Kasi parang ngayon, parang, you know, hindi na nabibigyan pansin masyado ang TV. Parang kokonti na lang ang nanonood sa television. Kaya because people are into watching whatever they want to watch doon sa kanilang mobile phones or tablets, or kung manonood man sila through Netflix na lang. So parang hindi na nanonood ang mga tao sa mga television shows, sa mga news channels and all that. Kasi we tend to focus much of our attention to what is uh, available sa ating mga mobile phones, especially when we are connected to the internet and social media. Sa ngayon, dahil sa television at iba pang mga various forms of media na ito, nagkakaroon tayo ngayon ng shaping or reshaping or reorientation of the social behavior of people and as well as the behavior of families. Okay? Although we cannot deny na, of course, yung kagandahan or beauty of this so-called media like smartphones, kasi this allowed users, us, to keep in touch instantly with multiple people at the same time. Kaso nga lang, as with all types of technology, meron tayong limitasyon, meron tayong disadvantages, okay, meron tayong negative aspects sa mga ganito ding mga bagay. Okay? Now, I just want to emphasize halimbawa ng or application ng sinabi ni McLuhan regarding the medium as the message. Okay? So, this is a historical example, okay? This actually happened in the United States, okay, noong 1960s nung nagkaroon tayo ng presidential election between Richard Nixon and then John F. Kennedy. Okay, so ito yung magkalaban noong 1960s na presidential elections. Okay, that was also the first time that the presidential debates ay na-air on both television and the radio. Ngayon, nung nagkaroon ng survey regarding sa resulta ng debate, kung sino yung winners sa debate na iyan, okay, nagkaroon tayo ng dalawang different opinions or perspectives yung mga tao, depende sa medium na pinagpanooran nila ng presidential debate, kung nakinig man sa radio or kung napanood man yung debate sa television. According to that survey result, ang nanalo daw sa presidential debate ay si John F. Kennedy. Okay, so I guess that majority sa atin ay familiar kay John F. Kennedy, no? Kasi parang apelyido pa lang niya, parang mananalo na, no? Parang yung isang certain political family in the Philippines na parang apelyido pa lang, alam mo na mananalo siya because, Filipinos are fond of surnames. So John F. Kennedy came from influential political family in the United States of America. Okay, Harvard graduate, okay, at the same time, good-looking, young, okay, bata, okay, pogi, and so on and so forth. Kaya, naturally, yung nanalo sa election or nanalo sa presidential debates ay si John F. Kennedy dahil nakikita ng mga tao for the first time yung debate. Ngayon, contrastingly, yung nanalo naman sa presidential debate, doon sa nakinig naman sa debate, sa pamamagitan ng radio ay si Richard Nixon. Okay, he is the better debater daw according to those who are surveyed who had listened to the radio nung sa presidential debate. So nagkaroon tayo ng dalawang perspectives dito, and it's a reflection of the society noon hanggang sa ngayon. Kasi apparently, we tend to be reactive. Okay, reactive meaning parang nagbe-base tayo sa mga decisions natin based on what we see. Okay, so halimbawa dito sa Pilipinas and Philippine politics, no? Kung titignan natin, mostly sa atin, we base our votes on who is the better looking guy, not on the guy or the woman who has the better program or plan for the community or for the barangay for that matter. Alright? So ganyan, binibase natin sa personalidad, binibase natin sa kung ano yung itsura, and so on and so forth. So that's personality politics. So it's not only exclusive to the United States of America, but also for the Philippines. So that's why it led Marshall McLuhan to conclude or declare that the medium is the message. Okay, so ayon pa kay Marshall McLuhan, ang different forms of media like television and radio, social media, and the internet, it both it extends and at the same time it also amputates our human senses. So syempre dahil sa new media na yan like cellphone, social media, the internet, no, it expands the reach of communication. Pero at the same time, although we have the beauty of this so-called new media or new technology, it also makes us incapacitative. Okay? Kasi it also dulls our communicative capacity. So sa paanong paparaan na-illustrate guys itong users communicative capacities na nadadal. Pag sinabi nating dal, parang napupurol yung ability natin to communicate properly.
Understanding ko kasi sir, parang more on ang ano natin, parang skill natin ay phone natin or social media or kung ano mang ginagawa natin natin. So, yung parang way ng communication natin nun. Kasi nung pandemic po, kahit nasa isang bahay tayo minsan yung iba nasa naka-quarantine or ano. So, yun lang po yung ano natin. Kaya, imbis po na parang mas na-practice natin yung ano natin, yung communicative capacities natin personally, parang mas naano pa po natin siya sa ano po, sa gamit po yung phone natin.
Oo. Yeah, you're correct, no? At saka masisisi rin natin siguro yung built-in features ng halimbawa Facebook itself. Okay, so like for example, although nakakapag-communicate tayo, pero ang question dito is whether or not we are communicating properly. Okay? Like for example, may nakita kayong post na isang kaibigan niyo na nagdadalamhati siya, okay? Possibly yung profile photo niya ay isang kandila tapos ang background ay puti. So it would mean na may namatayan sa kanila for that matter. So, yung limited communicative capacities natin na-express siguro kapag halimbawa, yung way of communicating natin nare-reduce na lamang sa simpleng pagre-react doon sa post. So halimbawa, so we are given the options, a range of reactions like sad or care. Okay, so parang okay na sa'yo na mag-react ka ng sad or mag-react ka ng care. Tapos yun na yun, right? So parang, yeah, we can also probably like blame Facebook itself for limiting our communicative capacities because of the limited range of emotions na express na nakalagay doon. So anyway, lahat naman kayo dito ay naging bunga ng pandemic learning, ng online learning, ano? So, possibly kung nagtuloy-tuloy yan at graduate kayo na online pa rin ang klase, I'm just not sure kung magiging effective engineer kayo later on, no? Kasi walang demonstration naman or actual na demonstration ng pagkatuto ninyo kung natuto ba kayo talaga or not. Okay? And it would show later on kapag ka naging professional engineers kayo later on na, you know, para sa akin mas malaki yung impact talaga ng face-to-face and actual demonstration of things, lalong-lalo na sa inyong mga engineering students because you have to be hands-on, right? Just like what you're doing now, okay, doing the welding and all as opposed to being demonstrated online tapos nandun na kayo sa bahay ninyo, nanonood lang, okay? Tapos yung ilan na tutulog pa or kumakain or something. Okay? So anyway, so that's for the statement. So, the world today. So, ang media ngayon ay have a very important impact on cultural globalization in two mutually interdependent ways. Okay, so firstly, you have the media providing an extensive transnational transmission of cultural products. Okay, so it is evident with the musical preferences that you have with the types of songs you listen to, the music coming from other countries, primarily the songs of Taylor Swift, the songs of K-pop like BTS, okay, Blackpink, for that matter. So it's a reflection indeed of this so-called extensive transnational transmission of cultural products such as songs, television shows, and films. All right. Now, Another thing that we have to emphasize here is that ang global media cultures also create a continuous cultural exchange. So due to our exposure sa social media and the internet, kasi majority ng waking hours or ng time natin na hindi tayo natutulog ay devoted sa pagbabrowse natin sa social media natin, particularly Facebook at visit sa internet sites, ano. So parang sa paraang yan, nagkakaroon tayo ng continuous cultural exchange at yung mga crucial aspects such as identity, nationality, behavioral norms, at iba pa ay continuously questioned and challenged by us. Okay. All right, so global media promotes a restructuring of cultural and social communities. So this is what I've been telling you kanina sa past slides natin. Ano? So nagkakaroon tayo ng restructuring in terms of reorientation ng family behavior, reshaping ng tinatawag nating social behavior. And then ultimately, from the individual level, it could impact the family. And then from families, nagkakaroon tayo ng change sa society or community level. Okay, so dahil dyan, nagkakaroon tayo ng creation of this so-called new communities. Okay, so one thing to note, class, about global media culture is yung tinatawag nating digital technology. Okay? So when we say digital technology, ito yung it includes the use of devices, okay, devices such as laptops, mobile phones, okay, smartphones, tablets, and all that process and use digital information. So as opposed to like browsing books and newspapers, so digital technology has made it possible for us to see whatever it is that we are interested to see sa ating mga screens, okay, ng ating mga cellphones at iba pang mga gadgets. So that's digital technology for you. Okay, so there are different forms of digital technology, pero ang mobile phones or smartphones are ever more becoming part of the daily life of today's youth, particularly you guys who are the Gen Zs or us, the millennials na tinatawag. Okay, so ano yung kagandahan ng tinatawag nating digital technology? Okay, so digital technology allows the users, us, to keep in touch, connect with people, and be updated on the activities and whereabouts of others. Okay, so we get to communicate with friends, family members. Okay, so regardless of wherever place they are at, kung anumang kontinente yan, it doesn't matter. So borders and geographies do not matter because technology has made it possible for the so-called distances to be shrunk or to shrink. Okay? So, in other words, nagkakaroon tayo ng update sa mga activities at location or whereabouts ng tinatawag nating mga friends or relatives natin online. Ngayon ang problema sa digital technology is this, okay? And I want somebody from your class to read the negative side of digital technology. Okay, so tanungin nga kita, Iman, ano? Do you oftentimes get in touch with your families? Yeah, with your yeah. Oo, syempre. Pero kapag nauwi ka doon, halimbawa, Iman, like kapag andun ka ba, you are physically present pero you're it is as if you're not there because you keep on using your phone. So parang ano, no? Parang hindi ka nagkakaroon ng meaningful and intimate communication with your family members kasi nga you're into using your phones and different gadgets instead of talking to them. Ganun ba yung nangyayari kadalasan? Kapag ka nauwi ka sa bahay nyo, talagang ano, no? Family first talaga, no? Thank you, Iman, for your input sa klase. Okay, so ngayon, yung growing use or paggamit ng internet at social media, so of course, gaya ng sabi ko kanina, it changes the social behavior of individuals. So, halimbawa, nagkaroon ng pagbabago sa'yo, you tend to focus more on using your gadgets and, using constantly your social media. So, kapag nagkaroon ng pagbabago sa'yo, of course, maapektuhan din yung dynamics or yung relationships mo with your family. And then kapag ka nagkaroon ng pagbabago sa pamilya because of the changes sa family members, ultimately it will alter or affect the society or the community itself. Okay, so yun yung negative side ng digital technology na tinatawag. Okay, so this is something that we also need to emphasize, no? Reality as abstraction in the digital age. So according kay Rosenfeld, meron tayong different types of abstraction. Kapag kasi sinabi nating abstraction, this is your perception. Okay, so we have 5 types. Okay, so meron tayong real life reality, tapos meron tayong simulated reality, and then meron tayong augmented reality, and then you have that so-called virtual reality, and then later on, meron tayong tinatawag na hyper reality. And so we'll be starting first with what we term as real life reality. Okay. I know it's redundant, ano, parang repetitive yung term, no? Kasi meron na tayong real life, tapos meron pa tayong reality. Okay. Now, according kay Rosenfeld, dinescribe niya ang reality as a real life kapag, siyempre kasi kapag sinabi nating reality, may tendency na po pwedeng hindi ito maging totoo. Okay, kaya dinagdagan niya ng real life. So, ang real life reality, it refers to the reality outside the cyberspace. So, this is what we term as the World Wide Web or the internet, no? So, real life reality also talks about face-to-face interactions. So, just like what you are doing when you're at home or when you're talking with friends, enjoying a meal, perhaps. Or a summary of real life reality is that it refers to a life away from digital devices. So when you put away your phones, when you turn off your laptops and you begin talking with your friends and family members and loved ones, that is what we term as real life reality. Okay, pangalawang uri ng abstraction, according kay Rosenfield, ay itong tinatawag nating simulation. So, itong simulated reality naman, okay, so the term simulated, ibig sabihin, it's an abstraction that tries to copy realities as close as it can. So, pagkokopya ng realidad as close as it can. Although, ang simulated reality, it never, of course, exactly or perfectly copies reality. So, example ng simulated reality ay ang Facebook 360, which I presume na-try nyo nang gamitin, okay, nung medyo popular pa itong feature na ito, no? So parang mag-take ka ng photo tapos may tendency na maging 360 siya. Okay, so hindi lang siya 2D or flat na surface, kundi pwede mo siyang i-rotate, okay? And then you can actually appreciate the whole view of a specific room, 360 view of a specific room. Okay, no. During the pandemic, naging uso din ang virtual tours or virtual museums, no? Particularly for museums na hindi nabibisita ng mga tao because of the quarantine during the pandemic. So perfect example would be this museum in Paris, France, as illustrated in that short video na nakikita nyo sa screens natin or ninyo. Okay, so another example of reality or abstracted reality is this so-called augmented reality. Okay, pag sinabi nating augmented reality, okay, so this is what we term as real life reality. Okay? Interwoven with the unreal. So meron tayong elemento ng real life, tapos meron tayong unreal or fantastical or fictional. So say for example, Pokemon Go. Craze siya ano, kasi kinababaliwan ng mga tao noon. So ewan ko lang ngayon kasi parang wala na, no? Hindi na siya na-enjoy, no? So very few people plays Pokemon Go now. Pero I remember a student of mine when I was still teaching in Isabela. So parang na-late siya for 30 minutes sa klase. Okay, tapos yung nirarason niya kung bakit siya na-late ay dahil kinailangan niya na manghuli ng isang very rare na Pokemon na maliit. Okay, so naghanap siya ng Pokemon maliit. Ngayon, ang problema is na-late siya. Kaso nga lang, I considered yung late niya kasi nga, of course, I played too and I understand the importance of capturing something that bring you at most happiness. Okay, so, so that's the extent of how what people can do nung usong-uso ang Pokemon Go na tinatawag. Okay, so another example of augmented reality is Snapchat, no? So yung picture mo tapos doon sa screen may makikita kang tenga ng aso or nguso ng aso, di ba? So that is what we describe as real life reality, your face. So you're enjoying something kaso nga lang through your screens merong fantastical or fictional na nai-include. So that is what we term as augmented, from the term augment, which means dinadagdagan ng something, particularly unreal. Okay, so another type of abstraction would be this so-called virtual reality. So virtual reality, so it's an abstraction that is completely detached from real life reality. Okay. So virtualization is defined as the complete assimilation into virtual societies that exist outside the confines of the real world. Okay. So this is particularly true kapag halimbawa nagsuot kayo ng VR set or virtual reality headset. So I guess that majority sa inyo ay nakaranas na, no, na magsuot ng virtual reality, no? So this must be like a very exciting experience or very, something that would give you immense pleasure, lalong-lalo na kapag halimbawa, you try to visit a place na hindi na nag-exist ngayon, Atlantis, nung panahon ng Jurassic, nung panahon ng mga dinosaurs, tapos nag-insert ka ng virtual reality headset sa mata mo, and then you get to see what was like back then during those bygone days. So that's virtual reality. So kung pwedeng laruin din, okay, tennis halimbawa, okay, so you're in your room, okay, so parang nagiging active ka, lalong lalo na nung pandemic that people cannot go out, so people play something, okay, sa pamamagitan ng mga laro made possible by virtual reality. Okay. Okay, another example of abstraction is this so-called hyper reality. So ang hyperreality, it's a state of mind, the inability of people to distinguish the real from the unreal. Okay, so class, ang example ng hyperreality ay ang Disney World, no? So of course, alam naman natin na hindi nag-exist ang mga Disney characters katulad nila Mickey Mouse, nila Sleeping Beauty, okay, nila Little Mermaid. Okay, pero we have places or theme parks such as Disneyland na parang sa pamamagitan ng pagpunta mo sa lugar, parang nakikita mo yung mga nag-exist na napapanood mo lang sa mga animated films na napapanood mo dati, pero it came to life, no? Kapag nandun ka sa mga theme parks na ganito, mamimit mo si Mickey Mouse, makikita mo si Little Mermaid, sila Sleeping Beauty, yung mga fairy tale characters. So that's hyper reality. So kapag nandun ka, you are no longer able to distinguish the real from the unreal kasi you know that that place does not exist, that these characters do not exist, pero you are seeing them. You are interacting with them, even though you know that they are unreal. So that is what we term as hyper reality. And that is according to Jean Baudrillard. Okay, so this inhibition in the cyberspace. So pag sinabi natin this inhibition, specifically this online disinhibition, so di ba nga sa day-to-day na pamumuhay natin outside of mobile phones or outside of digital technology, meron tayong mga norms or laws na sinusunod. So otherwise, kapag hindi mo sinunod itong mga ways of life or norms na mga ito, the concept of what is right and wrong, nagkakaroon tayo ng punishment, nagkakaroon tayo ng sanction na tinatawag. Pero kapag andun tayo sa cyberspace or we are using social media or the internet, okay, nagkakaroon tayo ng online disinhibition, yung pagtatanggal sa mga social inhibitions or restrictions na naka-impose sa atin, okay, normally kapag we are outside the internet or social media world. Alright? So, halimbawa kapag online ka or social media ka, yung parang yung confidence level mo tumataas, no? As opposed to kapag nagkaroon ka ng face-to-face interaction with people, you are not that confident. In fact, you are very shy when you are interacting with people face-to-face. Pero nagkakaroon ng change kapag you are interacting with people online. Okay? So that is what we term as online disinhibition. So we have different causes of online disinhibition. So firstly, you have this so-called dissociative anonymity. Okay, so anonymity refers to you being anonymous. So parang nameless ka, no? Of course, ginagawa ng ilan sa atin ito kapag halimbawa, kapag ka nagpo-post ka ng something, complaints sa mga Facebook pages, kung gusto mong hindi malaman ng iba yung identity mo at maging, hindi ka mabash later on online, okay, you choose to be anonymous or unknown. Okay, gagamit ka ng dummy account. Okay. Pero minsan, or kadalasan na abuso ito kasi it results also to bullish behavior, parang nambubuli ka, nagkakaroon ng unfiltered virtual behavior. So that is dissociative anonymity. So number two, okay, so John Cena effect, invisibility, people can't see me. Okay, so basa-basa na lang din tayo dito. Okay, so I would like, Edel, sige.
People can't see me. Since you are invisible, you can alter your personality. In hiding yourself, you are freeing yourself from the baggage of how you present yourself as you really are.
Okay, can you relate to this?
Dahil nga po, people can't see me, sir. Meron po tayong parang choice na baguhin or ipakita kung yung mga hindi natin napapakita personally. Katulad po, kunwari po, kung yung isang tao po, tahimik po siya pag nakikita natin or sa pagkakakilala natin, tahimik siya. Pues parang may chance po siya or may power siya para ipakita kung sino talaga siya or yung parang alter ego niya ba through sa ano po, online nga po, katulad ng mga dummy account, gano'n. Pwede siyang gumawa, tapos pwede niyang gawin kung anong gusto niyang gawin na hindi pwedeng gawin ng kung ano siya sa personal po, gano'n.
Okay, number three, para mabilis tayo. Asynchronicity, see you when I see you. Okay, so you have the luxury of time delay in the virtual world. Okay, so this is self-explanatory, it removes the pressure of real-world communication. So asynchronicity means meron tayong time delay. Okay, so regardless of you get to like respond or respond a few days after the message was sent to you. Okay, so that is asynchronicity. Okay, not unlike kapag halimbawa nag-uusap tayo ngayon, tapos automatically dapat mag-reply ka kasi kausap kita directly. Pero kapag nasa online world ka, halimbawa nag-send ng message sa ibang tao, tapos ay hindi mo siya isi-seen. Okay? And then you choose to see it kapag gusto mong replyan. Okay, for that matter. Alright? Or isi-seen mo, pero magre-reply ka few moments after or a few hours later for that matter. So that is what we term as asynchronicity or see you when I see you. Okay, fourth, meron tayong tinatawag na solipsistic introjection. So it's all in the mind. Okay, so ang gusto ko lang i-emphasize dito yung last na statement, no? So ang communication kasi, especially online or through social media, so mostly it's through typewritten words. Okay, so tinatype lang natin sa screens natin. And in short, kapag nagta-type ka, you have the luxury of, thinking first before you are going to send that message as opposed to talking to people directly kasi automatically kung ano man yung gusto mong sabihin, nasasabi mo na lang bigla-bigla na walang filter. Now, in relation to that last statement, this explains why some people are more talkative online than in person. This is actually very true. So, halimbawa, sa mga estudyante, kausap mo sila online, okay, ang dami-daming sinasabi. Okay? So, very communicative sila kapag sa Messenger. Pero kapag nakausap mo na, parang hiyang-hiya na, So, parang ano na yung nangyari doon sa talkative self mo online. Okay? So, yun yung tinatawag nating solipsistic introjection. Okay, 5, meron tayong dissociative imagination. So, lahat ay laro. So it is the belief that online interaction is a game whose rules you can easily break without implication. So this is somehow related to yung sa number 1 na cause ng online disinhibition. Okay, yung people can see me and people don't know me. Okay, so parang very similar yung dalawa na to sa number 5. Okay, so our ability to create an alter ego online, so it gives us the bravery or the courage na gawin yung isang bagay na immoral or unethical or deviant or deviant online. So especially kapag you're under dummy account, troll account, okay, so it gives you the power to do things that you can't do kapag ikaw ay living under this so-called real life reality. Okay, so number 6, minimization of status and authority. So your rules don't work online. So here, online people are perceived to be equal because in online world, your rules don't work here. Okay, so that's for number 6. So, ang Pilipinas ang may pinakamataas na internet population in Southeast Asia, and we are top 1 or 2 sa mga may pinakamaraming users ng Facebook worldwide. So parang number 1 tayo this year, followed by either Brazil or Indonesia. Okay, so Brazil, Indonesia, Philippines, usually ito yung mga pinakamaraming mga Facebook users in the world. So majority of Filipinos use the internet primarily for social networking through using social media platforms such as Facebook. And the Filipino youth, okay, from 13 all the way to 35, sila yung mga biggest users ng social networking in the past few years since the introduction of Facebook in 2004. Okay, 10 years after the introduction of Facebook, ganun pa rin, Filipino youth pa rin yung may malaking bulk ng users ng Facebook in the Philippines at least. Okay, so the Filipino youth mostly use social networking for, firstly, communication, okay, information, and entertainment. Pero of course, we should be careful, lalong-lalo na sa Facebook or Twitter, nagkakaroon tayo ng tendency na magkaroon ng identity theft, okay, the spread of false information or fake news, okay, and then oftentimes it makes us very vulnerable or susceptible to this fake news or information that are spreading like wildfire in the Facebook world. So that's why schools and even the government should make efforts to prevent and effectively manage the spread of these so-called problems that persist in social networking in the Philippines, lalong-lalo na ang false information and fake news na nag-start nung election period, tapos nung kasagsagan ng pandemic. Okay, so that's it, guys. So we are now done with our lecture this morning. Okay, so that we started with a discussion on the global media of culture. And ngayon, of course, we have to end our discussion. It means that chapter close already. So I hope that we move on we have to move on na ngayon. Okay, kalimutan na natin ang mga nangyari. Okay, although it hurt us, we have to move on because according sa mga nakikita natin, chapter close na. So I won't be entertaining any questions regarding this matter. I hope for your understanding, guys. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Sige. Bye-bye.